Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain For You. Today's topic is going to be, you are not a failure. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's take a couple of nice, refreshing breaths. Not going to say any words this time. You put in whatever meanings you want. Breathe in something good, exhale the bad. Make up your own words. Breathe in the good that you want. Exhale the bad stuff you don't want. Alright, so today I just want to talk to you about the fact that you are not a failure. You may not have eliminated your pain or other symptoms yet, but you're not a failure. Would you tell a baby that was trying to take their first steps and fell, would you tell them you're a failure? No. Look, ending chronic pain, ending chronic symptoms that are as a result of this thing called TMS, this mind-body syndrome, this psychophysiological pain disorders, stress illness, stress response, whatever you want to call it. Teaching the brain to let go of these symptoms can be challenging. How do I know? 13 years. Took me a long time. 12 of those years I knew about Sarno. I had memorized those 12 daily reminders. Talk to your brain, think psychological, reject the physical, or repudiate the physical, for any Sarno studiers. And I always felt I was doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong. I must be doing something wrong. I still have the symptoms. I'm doing it wrong. And I know there's got to be many of you out there that are judging yourself harshly for doing it wrong. I'm missing something. The doctors missed something. I must not be feeling my emotions properly. I must not be soothing myself properly. I can't get this indifference down. How can I shift my focus back to living my life when my life is so screwed up? Right? And it leaves many of us, and I know it did for me a long time, with the feeling that I'm a failure. I can't even figure this shit out. But I am here to tell you that you're not a failure. This is a learning process. It's a teaching opportunity to teach our brain that this type of chronic pain is not necessary. Look, pain has a purpose. When you smack your hand on a rock, pain has a purpose. The pain's purpose is to say, stop that, don't do that again. Right? Chronic pain really is just pain that has been learned due to our hypervigilance and our fear that we might be broken or there might be something wrong, or a continued fear of these emotions. The brain just learns these neural pathways and it gets kind of wired and stays on. So this is a learning and a teaching opportunity to teach our brain that the things that we're afraid of as being dangerous, like the emotions, like social situations, like certain physical movements. Once we've had pain for a while, we fear a lot of movement stuff, whether it be sitting, standing, laying down, walking, jogging, bicycling. So many things people decide they can't do because they've had enough experience that those things hurt, that they've learned conditioning that those things are painful. The brain just delivers what you believe. So look, you're not a failure. You just haven't yet taught your brain that these things that you're afraid of, the things that the brain perceives as dangerous, are not really dangerous. So how do we do it? Knowledge, accurate knowledge. Sarno, basic knowledge therapy. That was his core angle for this stuff. You know, he sold the healing back pain videos on first VHS. Now I think if you go to healingbackpain.com, you can still get them on DVD, I think. Don't quote me on that. I have no idea, but I think they're available there. But what was he doing there? Knowledge. Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. What was his core message? You're not broken, right? Sounds familiar, right? So, knowledge is key, because when you really truly know what's going on, you've done the assessments, you've accepted it, what happens to your fear? You crank it down. Without the fear, the pain has no fuel. There's no energy. Which is why, if you're running around afraid of the pain or symptoms, or afraid that you'll never be able to turn it off, you're fueling the process. And so, knowledge is huge. Assessment and acceptance. Truly accept that, you know what, the doctors checked me out, I'm not dying, everything's cool. You know, yeah, there might be some structural abnormalities in there. But Sarno's right. They're not the cause of the problem. Because if it was, all these people over the past 50 years wouldn't have been getting better. Because trust me, a lot of those people, most of them, have structural abnormalities. We all do, right? Guaranteed, if you took a 70-year-old person with no pain, got them an x-ray and some MRIs, you're going to find some stuff, right? So I don't believe that's a good idea, because then all we do is start going, oh no, I wasn't hurting, but wow, I got this bulging or herniated disc. That's a ticking time bomb. I might hurt in the future. Look, we can work ourselves into a frenzy over this stuff. The core message here in this video is that you are not broken. There's nothing to fear. And that if you can just know, accept this thing called TMS, this mind-body syndrome, that's half the battle. Soothing yourself. Now, soothing is not just deep breathing like I do in the beginning of these videos, but it's also calming your thinking. It's also reassuring yourself when the pain makes itself known. Don't try to ignore it. It's impossible. You'll just judge yourself as being a failure because you can't ignore it. Never said ignore it. But you can always choose your response. And look, there will be some times when the pain or the symptoms are so bad that it's tough to respond in a cool, calm, reassuring manner. Right? That's what I mean by soothing the thinking. Think accurate knowledge about the true cause of the pain or symptoms. Think accurate knowledge that this is what's going on with me. Think accurate knowledge that this is temporary because I am learning. And like anything we learn, it takes some time. If I wanted to learn to play the trumpet, would I say in a week or a month that I'm a failure because I can't play the trumpet well? No, it takes time. How about learning a new language? If I started learning French or German or some other language, would I tell myself I'm a failure if 2 months in I'm not fluent? Of course not. So you're not fluent in eliminating your symptoms yet. So what? You're learning. Take baby steps each day. If you think you're a little bit more indifferent today than yesterday, perfect. You're not a failure. You're making progress. If you think you're able to shift your focus back to living your life and finding some fun or joy a little bit more today than you were yesterday, perfect. You're succeeding. Give yourself some credit. And by the way, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you've got a splitting headache or some backache or some other major flare-up happening in the middle of the night, you're not a failure if you take some pain meds, over the counter or otherwise. You're being kind to yourself so you can get back to sleep. I'm not suggesting that's the answer. I like the answer, which is, okay, I'm not going to catastrophize it. Here we go again, another sleepless night. Oh no, I better get up and take the medicine. Let me look at my phone for a while, right? You're not a failure if you do that. It's just that there's another choice too, which may get you there faster. And there's been a couple of comments recently of people who said, yeah, you know what? Woke up in the middle of the night and instead of getting all upset about it and being up half the night, kind of reassured myself it's all good. Rolled over, got comfortable again. closed my eyes and slept till 7:30. I forget who that was, but for whoever left that comment, thank you. Look, you're not a failure. This is a learning process. Sometimes it takes a while to learn. And so, for whatever you are judging yourself as a failure for, you're not a failure. You're just learning. Some learn faster than others. We all have different backgrounds and histories and thought processes. But as long as you're kind of embracing some of these concepts and learning to be indifferent and shift back to focusing on your life a little bit more each day and not letting the pain or the symptoms cause you to freak out. If you freak out a little bit less tomorrow than you did today, you're making progress, right? There's a big difference between freak out and indifference. There's a lot of steps in between. Just make sure you're still moving in the right direction. If you have a bad day, so what? It's just a bad day. If you spent the day catastrophizing about your horrible future with pain and symptoms, okay, that was just today. You can choose to take a different tact tomorrow. And I'm telling you, seeing more and more comments that when people really get the mindset of indifference and the decision to shift attention back to living life, despite the fact that you're hurting, and I know you do, results can happen quick. People are talking about feeling much better in days, in some cases hours, like just by not flipping out about the migraine that came on, it's gone in half a day instead of a day and a half. So we can, through our response, by not fueling the fear, we can impact things faster and more than you realize. And so it's up to you. Yesterday's video is about, do you need to hit a wall? And that was a very gentle push to say, how much longer are you going to do what you've been doing, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. If your fear, focus, and anxiety about the symptoms and catastrophizing about it and feeling sorry for yourself because of the symptoms hasn't ended them yet, it's probably not going to work tomorrow. So please embrace these concepts. You're not a failure. You're still in the process of learning and teaching your brain that these sensations don't mean anything awful about your body. They're just sensations, in some cases, that have learned to stay persistent. And if we can learn through fear, focus, and anxiety about these symptoms and pains to teach them to stick around, we can unlearn them, right? That's Dr. Schubner, 101. Unlearn your pain. How do we do it? We stop staring at it. It's like the language. If I don't want to speak German anymore, I stop speaking it. If you're speaking it 8 hours a day, don't be surprised when you don't forget how to speak German. Look, if you're speaking the pain language, if you're focused on it, fearing it, measuring it, monitoring it, working all day long to fix it, all you're doing is speaking that language of pain, those neural pathways are going to stay connected. If you want the neural pathways to let go, you literally have to turn your attention away from the pain and the symptoms, because doing that literally says don't fire these pain, symptoms, and neural pathways. And yes, it is that simple. Is it challenging? Heck yes. But it can be that simple. So, you're not a failure. I don't believe you are. I don't believe I was either. Yes, it took me a long time to get better. But it doesn't have to take you that long. Why? Because there's an infinite amount of resources in this space these days. Not just me, but people like Nicole and Steve Ozanich and Jim Prusak and Dr. Schubner, Dr. Clark, Dr. Schechter, you name it. There's a number of people that are very prominent in this space, and then a whole bunch of people who aren't as prominent that are doing great work coaching and helping people. There's podcasts, there's videos. You've got an infinite amount of resources. I'm thrilled that you're watching me. Embrace it. Stop telling yourself you're a failure just because you took some over-the-counter medicine because you were hurting really bad. Okay, instead of looking at that as I'm a failure, how about looking at it as being saying, I love myself and this will give me some temporary relief so I can get my mindset back where I need it to be on indifference and shift my attention back to living life. And if I need a little, happy pill to get me there, be kind to yourself. Don't judge it. I'm not suggesting we take medicine. I'm not suggesting we don't take medicine. I'm just suggesting that whatever decision is right for you, don't beat yourself up over it. Right? So, hopefully this was useful, resonated with you. You're not a failure. You're just still learning. And when the brain actually is taught and gets the idea that you're safe and that these sensations are not a big deal, and you stop focusing on it and stop fearing it, you take away the fuel, and these symptoms can disappear, often pretty quickly. So, you're not a failure. Love you guys and gals. We'll talk soon. Talk tomorrow.